So first things first, I do apologize that this video took so long to get out. It's been a rough month, unfortunately. This week hasn't necessarily been easy either, but I'm trying to look at the bright side. I'm trying to get a positive feel in there, and I'm trying to get stuff done. So, oh boy, another JRPG. I know I don't have the best history with these, but there are a few things here. First off, I'm not the biggest fan of turn-based JRPGs. This is Kingdom Hearts. This is not a turn-based RPG. It's an action RPG, actually. I'm saying RPG so much it's starting to lose its meaning. It's the easiest way to say it's a role-playing game. The J is for Japanese, but that would take a long time to say. That's also an issue I have with most JRPGs. They take a long time to play. And unless I know I'm going to love the game, I often don't play games that I know are going to be on the longer side. I'm not made of time. I'm made of space. Ha ha ha! Sorry, too much Legends Arceus. Too bad I can't time travel. Well, then I could watch all the Disney anime and play all the video games I want. Wait, time travel? Anyway, let's put a spoiler warning here because this is Kingdom Hearts. For better or worse, this is a story-heavy game, and I'm pretty unversed in the story. Well-versed. Man, what's wrong with me today? Honestly, I haven't played the series as much when I was a kid. I did try and keep up with it all, though. It was interesting to me. I'm a huge Disney fan, and at least I was until the remake machine came into play, and crossing this series over with Final Fantasy in video game format was interesting. I was cautious, of course. Crossovers aren't always successful, but I was loving the anime as hell aesthetics, and I wanted to explore the world so badly, and then it happened. The Game Boy Advance got a game, and it was confusing story-wise. And while I thought it was funny at first that the true sequel ended up on a handheld, I was also kind of worried. Yes, Kingdom Hearts is one of those series. You need about 5 billion consoles just to experience the entire series story. Absolutely absurd. However, as for the first game, I did want to play it, and one of my friends did get it PS2, but he never really played Kingdom Hearts. He wasn't really a Disney fan, I guess? I'm not sure. Oh, he liked JRPGs, though. This was the first time I actually played Final Fantasy, with Final Fantasy X and Dirge of Cerberus. But that was it. It wasn't until moving in with my current fiance with her PlayStation 3 that I was able to really sink my teeth into Kingdom Hearts 1 for the first time. I still got burnout from it, though. Yeah, I got all the way to the end and just stopped, returning a long while later to only fight Chernobog and Ansem because that's basically all I had left. I blame Hollow Bastion for being overly confusing at first. Oh well, did a Let's Play this time around, and I managed to beat the entire game for a live audience. But not live, because it's a Let's Play, and I don't do live streams. Now, it's time I finished all of this up by reviewing the game, and maybe doing a list of my favorite levels? We'll see. This took long enough to do as is. Let's do it. Let's take on the Heartless! So, as a series, the writing for Kingdom Hearts is all over the place. For a standalone game, the first Kingdom Hearts is thankfully really simple. Sora is a kid who lives on Destiny Island with his best friend Riku and his special friend Kairi. Kairi is special for a few reasons. First, she's from another world. And second, there is a lot of romantic subtext that's never really fully explored between her and Sora, and to a lesser extent Riku. Oh, don't get me wrong, if you think there's nothing romantic about any of the friendships here, I get it. It isn't like it's explored directly anyway. It's more like it's hinted at. Regardless, the important part here is Kairi being from another world. Sora and Riku want to go explore other worlds, so they're building a raft to get away from Destiny Island. I'm not sure how a raft is supposed to get off the world, but hey, whatever, they're kids. However, Riku seems to want this a lot more than Sora does, and after a bunch of tutorial missions, he proves this by opening a special door. The door awakened the heart of the world. Yes, worlds have hearts for some baffling reason. And this summons the Heartless, creatures made of darkness looking to devour hearts. The Heartless devour them, which means they're kind of like souls in this game. Yeah, they don't actually Mortal Kombat style rip out somebody's heart, but it's kind of like a soul. It's kind of not. They really like to devour these souls or the heart of the entire world, because the world has a soul too. For a guy who said that this was a simple story, I'm already running into some complications here. Regardless, let's just say the world has its own soul/heart, and the Heartless want to eat it. Savvy? Savvy. So, Riku causes the destruction of Destiny Island just so he can leave. What a jerk. Sora also finds Kairi, but something happens between the two, and Sora's just kind of left to fight this giant monster. He also now has a large key, which just kind of appears out of nowhere. He more or less fights the giant monster /Heartless, and his world is eventually completely destroyed. So he ends up in Traverse Town. Also in Traverse Town is Donald and Goofy. They're looking for their king, Mickey, and just to add to the fantasy setting, Donald is a mage and Goofy is a warrior. They're told by Mickey to go to Traverse Town and find the holder of the key. After meeting Aerith, Yuffie, and Squall, Sora, Donald, and Goofy eventually find each other. They also fight a big Heartless together, so there's that. Eventually, the gang leave to find King Mickey, Kairi, and Riku. However, there's something bigger going on in the background. Each world is an abridged retelling of the Disney movie that they're based on. So you have Wonderland, you adventure dealing with the Queen of Hearts. The Deep Jungle, you're probably fighting Clayton with the likes of Tarzan by your side. However, in the background, evil is afoot, and it's shown when Alice from, Alice in Wonderland, is kidnapped by Riku. Or Snow White is, depending on your choices. Either way, Riku is clearly working for the bad guys, and this becomes way more apparent when you return to Traverse Town. You end up with some navigation pieces for your ship, so you come back to town and talk to Sid from Final Fantasy VII to put them on your gummy ship. While exploring the town, you run into Riku, who talks to Sora, but leaves when he feels like he's being replaced by Donald and Goofy. I mean, this darkness was already shown when Riku completely destroyed Destiny Island, but dang, he's actually working for Maleficent, the Disney villain. Interesting. She has her own League of Evil with other Disney villains, by the way, in this game, and while they work to expand the Heartless and destroy worlds, who's going to stop them? Well, obviously Sora is. In fact, he's been kind of doing so accidentally, too. Sora can close off the hearts of the world he visits, which he kind of unknowingly does, it seems. Regardless, he doesn't actually run into these villains until after fixing up his ship and then heading to Agrabah meeting Jafar. Jafar can control the Heartless to some extent, and while Sora defeats him and seals the keyhole just in time to save the desert world, Jasmine ends up going missing. This is important later on, bear with me here. Sora then defeats a few other members of the League of Evil, so to speak, taking out Ursula and Oogie Boogie, and Sora gets eaten by Monstra while, finding Pinocchio. Here, Sora meets Riku again, who seems interested in Pinocchio, who's a puppet, but he has a heart. Riku really shows this cruelty talking about Kairi and Pinocchio. Turns out Kairi's body was found, but she's kind of in a comatose state due to her losing her heart. Riku is looking to replace it despite controlling the Heartless, which is a weird point because it said very directly that the Heartless took Kairi's heart. Yeah, you see the backwards thinking there? No? Okay. Sora manages to save Pinocchio from a large Heartless and releases all of them from Monstra while trying to understand the darkness in their friend. Eventually, Sora ends up finding Captain Hook's ship, the way the villains were traveling through the worlds, and with Peter Pan's help, the group take Hook down. They do see Riku and Kairi here, confirming that Kairi is definitely in a comatose state. Eventually, everyone ends up in Hollow Bastion, a world sort of destroyed, but not completely, by the Heartless themselves. This place, Hollow Bastion, is now a base for the Heartless. Riku, meanwhile, gains the Keyblade, claiming to be the true wielder, and Sora wanders around with Beast from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. After a while, Sora starts having memories of the place he has never been to, but realizes that there's probably a reason for that. They're Kairi's memories. This was her world. Eventually, Sora does get back the Keyblade. Riku is possessed by Ansem, and if you're wondering who Ansem is, I'll explain it in a bit. And the gang end up finding a dragon form of Maleficent when Riku betrays her, opening up her to darkness. So, let's return. Who is Ansem? Good question. Ansem is a force that works in the background and was studying Heartless. You find his notes and works while you defeat Maleficent's goons. Turned out he's also this ghost-like being that talked to Sora at the start of the game and convinced Riku to destroy Destiny Island. Damn. Either way, he is now possessing Riku and was secretly convincing Maleficent to collect 7 lights, or Princesses of Heart. This would be why Riku was supposed to kidnap Jasmine, Alice, and Snow White. They also have Belle, Aurora, and Cinderella here as well. Kairi is the last princess needed. However, her heart wasn't actually in her body, and Ansem Riku explains that her heart was actually stored inside Sora's body, which is what happened when the two met at Destiny Island, and that explains why Sora is having Kairi's memories. Sora manages to defeat Riku, and then Riku stops himself? Right, he's possessed. Either way, Sora frees Kairi's heart, which turns himself into a Heartless momentarily. Quickly restored, Sora and the gang head off to face off with Ansem at the end of all worlds. Here, there's a bunch of portals where the Heartless are basically getting to world to world, and this is also where Kingdom Hearts is. After fighting Chernabog for some unknown reason, the gang finds the remains of Destiny Island and fight the true Ansem, who himself seems to be a Heartless. After a long fight, Ansem claims all hearts are from darkness, and that Kingdom Hearts is full of it. Sora claims Kingdom Hearts is light, and Ansem is defeated by a giant burst of light. However, there's still darkness in Kingdom Hearts, and with a restored Riku's help, as well as King Mickey, who just suddenly randomly showed up, the door is closed, and Sora is once again separated from his friends. The gang find Pluto and chase off after him, leading directly into the next game, which isn't Kingdom Hearts 2, but shockingly the spin-off Chain of Memories. Either way, the story here is fine. There's some mystery dotted around, but overall, I'm not going to complain about the complicated nature of this story just yet. However, there's obviously some things that are already murking the water, like explaining that worlds have hearts as well as people having hearts, and the fact that hearts are more like souls than actual beating hearts. But, like I said, it's simpler than what we're going to get into later on with the series. Alright, let's talk about how this game looks. Shockingly, this is the first game Tetsuya Nomura directed. Yep, he's the lead character designer of Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 10. Notice that only characters from those Final Fantasy games ended up showing up here. It's hard to believe a monster designer from Final Fantasy VI and lead character designer got this part. And even harder to believe this all came from an elevator conversation. Yeah, let's dig into some history real quick. Square Enix and Disney shared a building in Japan, and during an elevator conversation about making a game as popular as Mario Brothers, Nomura happened to just be there. He got the job, and while Disney wanted the game to star Donald Duck and Square wanted the game to star Mickey Mouse, Nomura wanted his own character in there. To compromise, Nomura made Sora look a lot like Mickey Mouse, and had both Donald and Goofy as main companions to appease both companies, I suppose. Honestly, I love Sora's design a lot more because of this. I'm not sure what the inspiration was for Riku and Kairi, but I like Nomura's art style, so of course I like them too. It's also cool to see Squall and Cloud in the same game together. I may not have played Final Fantasy a lot, but I sure knew who, well, one of these characters was anyway. It's actually weird that I refer to Squall as such, as Kingdom Hearts just calls him Leon for some unknown reason, and that's actually where I first met Squall. Never did I play his game. Huh. Either way, a lot of fans were happy about this. As for the Disney worlds, I think they look amazing outside of Monstro. Monstro is not really interesting to look at all. And Atlantica kind of looks mostly dull too, when you're not in one of the more popular locations from the movies. However, the rest of the worlds still look great. Plenty of fan service or Disney fans, and even if you aren't, they're still pretty interesting to look at. The original worlds are great too. I love the look and feel of Traverse Town, Hollow Bastion, and the End of the World. The music, however, is interesting. The original pieces of Kingdom Hearts, from Simple and Clean to the title opening, is just absolutely beautiful. I dare not play it here, though. Both Disney and Square are kind of rough on licensors for their music, but man, I bet you can find the OST someplace on the internet. I'd recommend giving it a listen. Even the battle theme that plays all the damn time against the Heartless is just really good and actually unique for every location. How cool is that? And Traverse Town is a standout track as well. It's hopeful and cheery despite the disposition that everyone here is in. The battle theme here is excellent, and Merlin's house has great music in it too. Every Disney world has their own theme as well. It is just reminiscent from the film the world is inspired by, which works well enough. There's some fantastic music from Disney tracks, are you kidding me? But sometimes the music is just absolutely ripped from the movie. Sometimes it's not as good as the movie. Either way though, the music is robust and fantastic. Outside of the transition from battle theme to world theme, you can end up hearing the beginning of the world theme track a lot in this game. Honestly, hearing the first few keys to a track over and over again will always make the track get a little old, feel repetitious. It's a shame. I think the world tracks are really good, most of them anyway. Just not good enough to make the first 5 notes memorable before fighting Heartless again. Now for the voice work. I think the actors did perfectly fine for the PS2 title. I'm familiar with a lot of the voice actors, and they all do pretty good here. Shout out to Angel from Buffy series voicing Squall, although he didn't redo his lines or anything for the HD re-release. Shame too. That would actually be the worst part of all this. Seeley Booth from Bones over there didn't redo their lines, and nobody really else did either. That can be seen as a bad thing for the HD remaster. In fact, some of the cutscenes just kind of look janky because of this as well. Regardless, they rehired a lot of the original voice actors from the Disney characters, back in the PS2 era. This means that the voice cast is pretty seasoned, and who doesn't love James Wood as Hades? I mean, really, come on. Overall, I'd say this is a success. It may have some jank because of the HD remaster of a PS2 game, but it isn't a full remake either, and a little jank seems like a nitpick compared to the rest of the presentation. So, Kingdom Hearts is a JRPG. This means you have tons of options on how you fight. Me? I like taking my large-ass key and hitting things with it. Yeah, I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm not really magic inclined, and I'm more of a swordsman. I like swinging my unique weapons, which in this game are keyblades. They're basically swords with key-like designs for gameplay purposes. Regardless, Sora isn't just a swordsman, and he can learn a variety of spells and special attacks. Spells are pretty basic. You have elemental spells, healing, defense boosting, and summons, which you can summon other Disney characters like Simba to aid you. I don't use these very often, but I know ones like Bambi or Tinkerbell can break certain boss fights and encounters, so have at it. I'm more of a healing and defense kind of guy. I often use Arrow to boost my defenses and heal when I'm having a, go at some of the tougher boss fights. Sora does have a variety of movement options and special attacks as well. He can eventually dodge, glide, and use magic to perform Ragnarok, and all sorts of other attacks as well. Of course, you can't just equip everything, but you have a certain amount of points to use for movements and special moves and abilities. You'll have to pick and choose. But of course, you can pick and choose more options the higher the level. Hey, there we go. You'll also have armor options, necklaces, and such that boost defense to specific elements or attacks. You also have to use items like potion and ethers to heal and recover magic in case spells don't necessarily work or you use too many of them. I forget I have this option a lot. Lastly, you have party members. You'll mostly have Donald or Goofy aiding you. You can give them items and pick on how they're going to use items and abilities during battle. However, they're not directly controlled by you. They're controlled by the AI that you can slightly direct. You can also get temporary companions as well, depending on the worlds. Aladdin, Ariel, Jack Skellington, Tarzan, Peter Pan, and Beast will at times join your party, which you'll have to switch either Donald or Goofy out for. This seems kind of cool on paper, but it kind of isn't. First off, leveling up Donald and Goofy is just much more important because, they're actually going to be with you from level to level. Second, these characters are world exclusive, hence why only Donald and Goofy come with you and why it's important to level them up more. Aladdin can only be utilized in Agrabah. Ariel can only fight with you when you're in Atlantica. Jack is a great mage, but he can only really be used in Halloween Town. This kind of sucks. However, that is about the only issue I can see with the gameplay. Sora isn't great at platforming. I suppose that's another one. Overall, Kingdom Hearts is pretty fun to play. The combat is varied enough with you, and you have plenty of options. The platforming isn't great, but it's manageable overall when you want to explore. Yeah, I'd say playing Kingdom Hearts is a lot of fun. However, the platforming does become an issue in certain levels, like Monstro and Deep Jungle. These levels have more than normal platforming sections, and I'm not sure as to why. These hippos right here stink to jump on, and until you get the high jump ability, Monstro is just annoying in general, with platforms that look just slightly reachable, but just slightly aren't. Actually, Monstro just stinks in general. Every room looks very similar outside of his mouth, and the Heartless aren't very interesting here either. The boss fight is okay, I guess. Atlantica is also one of the worst, though. You get suspended in the air, water, and a lot of your abilities more or less get nerfed. Do you play a game where you rely on dodge rolls or summonings? Atlantica is not going to be a fun experience for you. It still isn't, even if you don't rely on these two, but that's a nice example. Also, what is up with Ursula's attacks? She just constantly shoots lightning spells at Sora. Feel like you can't really attack her worth a damn without actually taking a lot of damage. Her fight with her normal form is more magic-based, which also sucks for those of us who don't practice magic all that much. Ugh, this level just sucks. Olympus Coliseum can probably be seen as dull as well. It's basically all combat and no exploration, which is fine, but can be kind of exhausting until you get the occasional boss fight. Cerberus is really similar to the Behemoth boss fight, but thankfully not so much so that they're basically the same. Just similar enough to take notice of. The good thing about this place is you fight characters like Yuffie, Squall, and Cloud. Hercules is a good boss fight too, but I never got to the optional Hades or Titans fight here. Deep Jungle not only has annoying platforming sections, as I mentioned earlier, but there's a lot of vine swinging and navigation issues that would be similar to inside Monstro. All these treetops look alike. There are more unique areas than Monstro, but this can still be an absolute confusing mess. Clayton is a mentionable boss fight, though, I'm not gonna lie. Fighting him is actually really fun. Agrabah has some interesting maze and platforming sections, as well as the Cave of Wonders, but it is easier to navigate than the others and has a fantastic boss fight, or two, or three. Jafar, both fights, and the Senate Pot Heartless. and even the tiger head of the Cave of Wonders. All of this is great to fight, and the city proper is actually really fun to explore and navigate. Halloween Town is also fun with unique enemies and Oogie Boogie, and Wonderland is confusing but fun to kind of puzzle out with also decent boss fights. Neverland just is Hook's pirate ship, which is cramped quarters and an okay boss fight with Hook himself. The only boss fight that you can fly in, but you can also still land. So that kind of makes up for it, I guess. Traverse Town is fun, but for some reason finding the area to trigger the cutscenes, especially when you're just starting out the game, is overly difficult to find. Okay boss fight as well. Hollow Bastion has unique locations, but it's still confusing to puzzle out, and a huge difficulty spike with a second Riku fight, as you're basically cut off from the rest of your party for it. Not only that, but your Keyblade is removed for a while, and only Magic and Beast can really harm the Heartless during this time. It's a rough place. Lastly, the end of the world level has Chernobog, which is another flying boss, which is kind of rough, and then Ansem, which is also difficult. The final fight with Ansem, the final boss, is another damn flying stage, which it's hard to attack Ansem without taking damage. Ugh. Overall, while there are some really good levels and some good points in every level, there's a lot of negative here as well as dragging the experience down. You also have the gummy sections. Oh boy. So in between worlds, you take what is known as a gummy ship. These sections basically have you take your ship, which you can upgrade your ship using, parts that you find all over the place, and you use the ship to basically go between worlds. It's like a crappy version of Star Fox. It isn't very fleshed out as much as it could be, and overall isn't really all that fun, despite the game trying to encourage you to replay these sections. Overall, I skip over this a lot, as much as I can. I know customizing your ship is a big part of the game, but actually playing in the ship against the Heartless ships is, it's not great. So while the levels are, at best, simplistic fun, they are, at worst, frustration. There is a reason to explore these levels. There is treasure hidden in every nook and cranny in each world. Find good items for free, permanent stat boosts, possibly new weapons. This is great. Finding and grinding rare Heartless isn't exactly fun, though, if you don't know what to do, but it still works to some degree. Why would you grind out rare Heartless? Simple. You get rare treasures that you can fuse with other items and make even more items, armor, and eventually the best weapon in the game. Nice. Yes, it can still be frustrating, but at least the game rewards you. You also have secret boss fights. Some are Heartless. One of them is Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, and one of them is the boss fight from the next game. Yeah, the final boss from the next game shows up here. Huh. I didn't fight all of them, of course, but there's a grand total of around 10 or 11 of these fights, which is really insane. And they're all pretty difficult, so beware. So, hunting unique Heartless boss fights galore, especially in the remix version, as some of them are exclusive to that version, and there's plenty more to do. You have 100 Acre Woods for minigames, finding all 101 Dalmatians, redoing challenges and gummy ship sections, and plenty more. Let me go back to the boss fights for a second here. A lot of the optional fights are actually in the Olympus Coliseum, and this is kind of awesome in some ways. You basically go through war with a bunch of Heartless formations. You lose, you're out. You keep winning, you keep fighting, until you reach a boss fight. The boss fights vary, but can be crushing to face a boss, lose, and then end up redoing the entire tournament over again. However, the bosses are really cool. The rewards aren't bad either, but the boss fights, facing Squall and Yuffie or Cloud or even Hercules, yeah, sure, why not? Or Squall and Cloud teamed up. This is awesome and brings out a lot of the Final Fantasy fans and Hercules fans alike. Fighting these boss fights is fun in general. Heck, treasure hunting is fun in general. Doing any of this stuff is really fun. That's why a lot of people really love to 100% this game. I'm not one of them though. I'm a bit busy for that. So, Overall, the biggest issue here is the level designs in the game. As much as the levels look good and make you want to explore, they aren't super great, all things considered. The better levels are nice, but even they don't really go above and beyond, with the simpler levels being favorites. The other levels, like Monstro, Deep Jungle, Atlantica, and Neverland, are either dull or frustrating with gimmicks. This isn't great. However, the story and writing is pretty good. The gameplay is super fun, the charm is incredible, and there is a ton of fun stuff to do outside of just beating the game. If you like action-based JRPGs, I do recommend you check this game out if you haven't already. It is one of the most popular video game series for a reason, after all. Hell, if it makes you feel any better, this isn't even considered to be the best game in the series. That honor often goes to Kingdom Hearts 2. But I still feel that this game is great. It'd be a 8 out of 10 for all you math nerds out there. Yeah, I recommend this game for sure. I played this game twice and I really do enjoy it. However, the next game is going to be a rough one, as 2 different versions exist, so yeah, that's interesting. Chain of Memories. Bleh. However, I'll eventually play the remix version for that for the Let's Play someday, but right now I am actually focused Let's Playing wise on Pokemon Legends Arceus. As for reviews, I'm working on some different projects for sure. Resident Evil 2 should hopefully be up soon. We'll see. In the meantime, if you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and comment. It really does help out my channel. Until next time, my minions, take care. I'm also planning on doing some re-reviews, because I've been kind of lacking on that this season, so I might catch up on a few of them. Just saying. Alright, bye-bye.